The moon is the second luminary in astrology and the celestial body that is the closest to the Earth and us physically. It is the greatest source of light in the sky at night. Though its gravity affects the tides, it isn't its gravity that we factor in when it comes to astrology. We look at its symbolism. The moon moves quickly compared to the other visible and invisible objects in the night sky. It also changes phases quickly. About every 28 days it disappears and is born again. The speed at which it moves symbolizes places in someone's chart that are always changing and in motion. These may not be large changes depending on the state of the moon in the birth chart, but nevertheless, there is a feeling of that part of life not quite being settled. In older Western astrological traditions, the moon can also symbolize travels, both long-distance travels and often short trips. It is associated with the god Thoth in Egypt and is linked to writing and communication, so the moon also symbolizes an aspect of our thoughts and speech. As the counterpart to balance the sun, the moon is internal instead of external. Where the sun stands for public identity, the moon shows our inner emotional identity. As Stephen Forrest says, it's the heart. This also shows what our needs are. The moon is receptive and shows reactivity. If the moon is closer to a visible spot in the chart, these people are easier to read and wear their hearts on their sleeve. Less visible moons belong to guarded individuals. The moon is also the home and mother, and traditionally linked with the feminine. All birth chart factors that affect the moon will show how home life was growing up, and how our mothers and mother figures were, what they taught us, and how we might then nurture later in life. It is also where we settle and look for comfort. It's common to see a dysfunctional moon continue the dysfunction because it is comfortable, although painful. It's what we know, our routines, and some of our deep subconscious patterns. Aspects to the moon can indicate where trauma came from in the native's life and what motivates their emotions and needs. It helps us predict a particular attachment style as well. It also reveals how someone likes to settle their house and live, and if they like to settle in at all or create a permanent home. It may indicate their attitude towards having a family or raising children, but it especially gives us insight into whatever portion of the chart is in the sign of Cancer. The older traditions assigned rulership of Cancer to the moon because the planet seems to be stronger when it is in that sign and functions better, but it also was decided based off of the ancient symbolic birth chart of the universe. Cancer holds many of the lunar qualities such as nurturing, being more private and withdrawn, being more internal, roots, family, moving quickly through phases, and often starting new things or projects. While the sun rules the youthful attitude and inspiration, the moon rules very young children, toddlers, and infants. It is also a part of the personality typically seen more in children until they reach the age that ambitions begin to take hold. We may notice that as a child, we identified more with the personality of our moon sign. While the sun shows someone's visible reputation in the birth chart, the moon rules masses and the reaction of the general public to the person. Flowing aspects, especially from the sun to the moon in a natal chart, indicate someone who may be well-liked if they become well-known. Harsher aspects might be those that cause more upsets in public. Many don't become public figures, and so it may not be on a large scale, as much as it is how people feel about us when dealing with us in daily public life. This is a general theme, however. It's not isolated from the way that the people see the rest of the chart, and how external people in society react to us individually based on our other placements. Just as a luminary feels more like a child's identity when they're very young, it may also continue to be an important part of the person's identity if they were born at night. A nocturnal chart might struggle to relate to their sun sign and find horoscope columns especially off the mark. Reading the horoscopes using both the sun sign and the moon sign has become much more encouraged in recent years, partially for this reason. Another reason is that the moon can be set as the rising sign of the chart in some astrological techniques for those who don't know their birth time. The moon is a very powerful part of someone's chart, allowing the astrologers a treasure trove full of information on each person. Understanding how it works in a birth chart is the first step to understanding how it will work in relationships with others, which is incredibly vital to synastry in general. I hope that you found this video helpful. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. Be sure to turn on notifications so you never miss a new upload, and thanks so much for watching.